you talk about, hey, there's a lot of company formation going on right now. And there is. It's pretty wild, actually. I haven't seen anything like this in years. I want to use this as a segue into your company formation.
Yep.
We were talking, just before the show a little bit about how you actually kind of got incubated in a little bit of a larger organization. Can you tell us a little bit about where Forecastr came from, what was unique about it, and what you learned?
No, absolutely. And I like telling this story because we do have a somewhat unique origin story. And I think that this story will resonate with a lot of people that maybe want to start a company, that maybe they're working for what would be a competing organization and they feel like they have no way of actually going out and starting it. So the backstory is I was working at a company that it wasn't a major company. It was a 30-person organization called Venture First. Mm-hmm. And it was it did a lot of different things, but for this purpose, it was essentially a fractional CFO firm. And and it was a startup. Whenever I joined that company, I was employee number 6. By the time I left to start Forecastr full time, it had grown to 30 employees. So the heart and soul of what we did there was build and manage financial models for founders, right? Probably sounds pretty familiar. Sure. But we used Excel to do all of this because back then there were really no tools around that did this type of work for you. So me and my now co-founder, Steven, both worked there. That's where we learned everything that we now know about financial modeling. That's where we learned about all the pain points about financial modeling. We learned that most founders don't get it. We learned that most founders at least attempt it and people will pay money for it, and so on and so forth. So Steven and I noticed all the problems in and around financial modeling, and we both simultaneously came up with the idea, but individually came up with the idea for Forecastr. We decided that there should be a web application that solved this problem, especially when you consider that every other business function that a startup has is supported by technology until you get to FP&A and the financial model, and then that's all done in Excel. So we were like, big opportunity. We should do something here. So this was the problem. This was back in 2018, whenever we decided that this was something that we wanted to do. Now, Steven and I both worked at Venture First, and we both had non-competes, and we were both doing a job that was technically competitive to the company that we wanted to create. We wanted to create a company that built financial models using software. Meanwhile, we were building financial models using Excel here at Venture First. So sure. What we did was, whenever we decided that this was something that we wanted to do, our first step was we want to understand if this is a good idea. So we decided, let's just do a ton of customer discovery. Let's not act on anything. Let's just talk to founders. Let's talk to a lot of founders, like people that are outside of just the customers that we have right now. So we went on this big listening tour. We talked to hundreds of founders. We probably even more than we should have, frankly, but we decided that for like 6 months, we wanted to do intense customer discovery. We talked to accelerators, talked to startup founders. We sent out surveys. And we were just trying to understand the universe of, hey, if we built this software, would people buy it? Is this a good idea, or are we wasting our time? So what this did was it gave us a lot of ammo and a lot of understanding about the problem and a lot of understanding about the opportunity. So by the time we were done with this process, we had a wait list of hundreds of companies that wanted to use this, that hated Excel, that said that they would pay for this. And so we decided there's a massive opportunity here. We feel like we should go out and actually do something about this. So then we had to figure out how we're going to navigate that. Well, we took a gamble, and Steven and I set up a meeting with the CEO of Venture First, a guy named John Shoemate, and we just laid all of our cards out on the table. And we told him about the idea that we had. Yep. We told him about all the customer discovery that we did. We showed him this list of hundreds of companies that said, we will buy this if you sell it. And we told him that this was a path that we wanted to go down. And we were very clear that we wanted to do this in our own company. We wanted to have the equity. Yep. We wanted to become the founders. We wanted to run with this.
And that's a brave conversation. We're going to come back to that.
Yeah, it was a brave, and we were scared to have that conversation. Yeah. We were dreading it in a lot of ways, but we did have that conversation. And we didn't know what was going to happen. We didn't know. Frankly, John Shoemate, the CEO, he could have said, good work, guys. This is all Venture First IP because you have your non-competes and you were doing it. And, we weren't doing this during work hours, but still he could say, this is our idea. We're going to execute on this. We're going to go. But that's not how that conversation went down. John is a world-class CEO, and he decided that he wanted to lean into Steven and I, and we worked out a deal where not only was he going to allow us to start our own company, and he was going to be kind of an incubation type of deal, so they got equity in the company. So he was going to let us start it, but he also wrote us a check for $60,000 to help get the alpha built. So we hired a dev agency to go and get the alpha built. And he told us that he would fund our salaries until we were able to close a pre-seed round, at which point our salaries could be funded by the capital that we raised in that round of funding. So basically, Steven and I were able to become founding team members of this new company, Forecastr, with founder equity, and go out, raise a round while we still had day jobs, while our employer was completely aware of it, and then fund our own salaries once that round was done. So we never went a single day without a paycheck. And at the end of it, once we raised that first round of funding, we had founder equity in this new startup. We had full salaries and everything like that. So, I think that the thing that's nuanced there is that there are people, I think, and I was even one of these people for a brief moment in time, that would have seen their situation as hopeless and said, look, I've got this idea. I really want to do something about this idea, but what can I do? I'm in this non-compete. I'm working for this competing company. There's nothing I can do about it, so I'm just going to let it die. But that's not true, right? If you just go and have those hard conversations with the people that are working at the company, the leadership of the company that you're at, if you want to start something new, you might be surprised at what people will do when confronted with an opportunity like that, right? I mean, this was an opportunity to venture first, to have a good ownership in what could be and has become a very solid company. And that really excited John. It excited the leadership there. And fast forward, and I think we can all look back and say, that was a great deal for all parties involved. They got a great return on equity so far, as with their ownership of Forecastr. Steven and I obviously have a great return on our equity, and things have been going really, really well. So yeah, it's a little nuanced story there.